Hi, I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times. On Friday, April 17th, I normally say here's headline news from Arkansas. There's not a lot of headline news today. It's a beautiful spring day. I think everybody went out early to the golf course or the park or somewhere. There is some sad news that we've developed independently that's going to be on the Arkansas blog later this afternoon. Benji Hardy, who's been covering the child welfare system in Arkansas in great detail for several weeks, is going to have some additional news on a gruesome murder case in northwest Arkansas, a child who died after being raped. We already know that social services had been in contact with that family before the death. We've now learned that multiple children had been taken away from the custody of this family earlier in another county in Arkansas. So by the time the state people came to see this latest case, they should have known that this was a family that had a previous experience of bad happenings with children, another child dead as a result. The anonymity that covers state child welfare proceedings makes it hard to find out who did or did not do their jobs correctly for the state. That's something we hope eventually our investigation will shed some light on. In federal court today in Little Rock, the Pulaski County Special School District and people hoping to form a new Jacksonville school district appeared before Federal Judge Price Marshall and talked about a plan to split up money so that Jacksonville can leave the school district. John Walker, an attorney for black families in the district, think there's not enough money to fulfill the state's obligation for the new facilities that are needed. There was no decision in that court case today, but a lot of that may depend on how this successful division of the school district happens or not. Little Rock School Board was somewhat quiet today. Dexter Suggs, who's had a bad week as interim superintendent, having to step back from some reorganization plans at several schools, didn't get the same degree of pushback at Baseline Elementary during a public meeting last night. It's a school full of people who speak English as a second language, for one thing. They're not as readily tied into the system as some of the parents at the well-to-do schools have risen up in anger about some of his plans. When Dexter Suggs invited some of these parents to meet with him next week during lunch and have a brown bag lunch, several of them told him, you know, we work, we can't get away for lunch. So that gives you an idea of the income gap within the district. No word yet on how seriously the state plans to pursue reports of plagiarism by Suggs on his doctoral dissertation, as reported this week by Blue Hog Report. I do think Suggs is having some problems, that there's some second thoughts about him as leader of the Little Rock School District. Elsewhere around the state and nation, there was news from Louisiana, which is considering a so-called religious freedom bill, such as Arkansas passed, perhaps a little worse than the one Arkansas passed. These are bills about preserving legal discrimination against gay people. IBM warned Louisiana against passing this bill, said it would have detrimental business consequences. That hasn't bothered Arkansas or Governor Asa Hutchinson, who refuses to do anything that guarantees equal rights to gay people in employment matters. One other piece of news that was interesting today that I encourage you to read, it's linked to on our blog. A good story in Mother Jones by a reporter who came to Arkansas to see if there was going to be any additional dirt to dig up about Hillary Clinton when she runs for president in 2016. There's a little bit of a where are they now from some of the Clinton haters from years gone by. The best part was his encounter with Larry Nichols. You'd have to be a Whitewater buff to remember the name. He was a fired state employee who put out a great number of salacious stories about Bill Clinton back in the day. He says, oh man, forget about it. There's nothing new to discover in Arkansas, which was interesting. But he also said he's going to vote for Hillary Clinton. He says, I don't like her. She's a mean woman, but that's just what we need now to deal with these bad people out in the world. Somebody tough like Hillary Clinton. Kind of a funny story. I recommend it. The Marshall Project wrote an interesting article today about something I've mentioned before and has been on the blog this week. There's a quiet revolution underway led by Legal Services of Arkansas to go around the state and slowly, in every jurisdiction in Arkansas, get a judge to strike down the state's criminal eviction law. As you may know, Arkansas has the worst landlord-tenant law in the country. The legislature preserved it in this last session. We're the only state in the country that allows criminal process used to be to arrest people and jail people even if they refuse to leave premises after being cited for not paying rent. It's a terrible law. Well, 3 judges have now struck down that law as unconstitutional. Efforts are underway in other districts. And this article that the Marshall Project has written details how this is part of a considered strategy. The Republican Insurance Commissioner of Arkansas said during the legislature, hey, we don't need a law to fix this, go to court. Well, they did, and with great results, and so the poor people may win one after all. And finally, you'll want to take a look at our blog for a hot new movie that's maybe hit screens near you soon, or maybe your video store soon. It's called Sharkansas Women's Prison Massacre. It's about a massive shark that comes out from under the earth in a fracking disaster and starts chomping people up, and threatening scantily clad women in a prison. I don't think this is going very far, and they tell me the movie really wasn't filmed in Arkansas. They just apparently like Arkansas as the scene for this sort of movie. They think it just seems to fit somehow. Somehow, I don't think that's a compliment. It's Friday. Thank goodness it's over. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back next week.